Welcome back, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, we switch gears this morning from playground to podium. A week with Dr. Barry Fudge, a physiologist, to four-time Olympic champion Mo Farah. Head of endurance at British Athletics. How do physiological factors affect endurance performance? We'll be discussing that today. We're also honored to have with us Marissa Gibson-Bailey. She's the only exercise physiologist and sport scientist to have both US and UK accreditation. They've been working with coaches and students during the course of this week, and they continue to do so. And they're here to discuss that and more with us. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Very, very excited to find out all about this. What is physiology in your terms?
So physiology is just how the body works. So it's the heart, the lungs, the brain, everything, the muscles that are within the body and how it works. For sport performance is what we look at.
So how important is something like this, the work that you do?
Basically, it is very important, obviously, because of you would want to market your own area. In terms of monitoring and evaluation of training programs, actually, I would like to say indirectly, what we do is hold coaches accountable for the impact they have on athletes. I always like to tell coaches that you are the architect of the athletes in refining them to what they would want to be. And as long as you do that, it means that you have that ability to either make or break an athlete, right? And I think that they should take that with great concern or great importance, so that they know the impact they're having on the athletes. Monitoring is really important. And as Barry would have said, looking at the different systems in the body, you know how critical that could be. So monitoring that and evaluating, making sure that the training program is effective and efficient is clearly what physiology is about.
Great. And Dr. Fudge, it will be tailored to suit each individual. It would not be general.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. So in the UK, we have quite a big endurance running program, which is what I run, and it's very specific to the individual athlete, in particular because they are going to the Olympic Games, they are going to World Championships, Commonwealth Games, so there needs to be that very high level of detail.
So you would do some thorough assessments, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
What does that entail?
So in particular for endurance running, the main one we do is we stick them on a treadmill, get them running very fast, measuring their oxygen consumption, and that tells us a lot about how their physiology works, how to train, how to get the best out of themselves when it comes to competition.
We're very excited to find out about your experience having worked with Mo Farah. What was that like?
It's been an incredible journey. So I started on that journey around about 2009, 2010 with Mo. Back then I knew that he was going to be an absolute superstar. He incredibly talented. He had a few issues in terms of just executing within the race environment. So that ability to turn up to big championships and dominate and win medals is quite a skill to do. And over a period of time, so for the last, however long that is, 8 years, he's been very, very successful. And I've been very fortunate to be part of it. And part of my kind of mission here with Marissa is to be a champion of sports science and physiology and what it can do for some of these athletes.
Great. Now, it's interesting, Ms. Bailey, you said that, you hold coaches accountable for the work that they do with athletes. What work should coaches do? What are some of the do's and the don'ts?
One of the things that I am actually championing right now is to let coaches understand coaching education is really important, and continuous professional development is important. If you have that task of taking an athlete from one level to the next, and when I say from one level to the next, I mean like from one level of performance to becoming a champion, you really have to take a great interest in your craft. Like any other professional, you have to be able to attend conferences, you have to be able to engage in workshops, engage in webinars, go to different countries so that you could be able to improve your knowledge about what you do, because whatever you do to the best of your ability definitely impacts the performance of the athlete. So when persons like myself as physiologists, we're in the lab, whether in field settings, do assessment, is basically to give the coach that feedback. Is your coaching program working, right? That you could make adjustments. So we're more of a friend than a foe, and we are the scientific resource for that coach. So you need to tap into professionals like myself like sport biomechanics, sports psychology, right? Those are the sciences that provide that scientific base for coaches to help them go that competitive edge, which is important.
So you're coaching the coach.
Coaching the coach.
Okay, from playground to podium, what is this conference all about?
It's all about letting coaches, getting into the experience that I've had. I've done, have experience at the Olympic site in the USA, and using reflective practice since 2013 with Barry, because that's really important in becoming or refining yourself as a professional. Reflective practice, looking at what you've done, how you've done it, did it go well, did it go well, right? So that you could refine and do it much better. So reflective practice is important. I want them to also understand about physiology, because most times, well, in this country, or maybe the wider Caribbean, it's more of the sport medicine doctor, you have physiotherapists, athletic trainer, strength and conditioning, and that's your support team. But I want coaches to understand there's more than that. There's exercise physiology, there's sports scientists and with the physiological support that you could add to your team that would be able to give you detailed information to help you with your detailed planning of your sport training.
Great. Dr. Fudge, I understand that this conference would have already kicked off this week. You all were at Tobago on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah,
How was that?
Beautiful Tobago.
I was talking about the conference, huh? But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic actually. And we worked with a group of coaches who were very passionate and driven by what they do, and a group of young students as well that are hoping to further their sport and careers as they move forward. And I think the playground to podium is fantastic, and it's something at a minimum. It works with kids who are just to be more active in terms of their physical activity and so on, because I think Trinidad and Tobago is afflicted by the same issues that the rest of the world is around obesity and inactivity.
Wow.
All the way through to people who are looking to be the best that they possibly can be. And for some people that might be going to the Olympic Games and standing on a podium. For others that might be their local sports day. I think the principle works very well. So
you've identified similar challenges, you would say?
Yeah, I mean, the whole world is afflicted by it. You don't have to fly very far to see the inactivity and so on that is around the world. So I think at a minimum, it's just getting people more active.
Yes.
And understanding their body a bit more.
What about their mental strength? Are they determined to learn more? Are they open to the information that you all have been providing?
I think there's a natural resistance from everyone anywhere you go in the world in terms of what they know and what they think they know. But I think that the group that I've seen in Tobago, and I'm sure it'll be the same in Trinidad, have been very open to new ideas, new ways of working, and just sharing some of our experiences.
Yes. And what has been your observation based on these two-day interactions that you would have had?
Oh, it was awesome. The students, for me, as Barry would have noticed, that I felt so comfortable in speaking with them and giving them that sort of hope, especially when it comes to the careers in sports. So we did an aspect of that as well. For me, looking back, when I actually started to study, there was no real information about what different aspects of sport that you could get into. So being able to open this up to students and explain to them, especially for me, I've been in different areas of sport, that studying sport is so dynamic that you can move from being a physical education teacher, a coach, a sports scientist, whether it be biomechanics, psychology, sport tourism in terms of sport journalism, sport broadcasting. So there's so many different areas that they were really excited about. Coming out from that, I used that opportunity with that group of students to create a volunteer group to service that of the Division of Sport in Tobago. So it's awesome keeping these youths together and try to build a trend or to try to change at least something about a culture that has been hampering us from the development of sport.
Is it the first time that we're having an event like this in Trinidad and Tobago?
I wouldn't know.
By your organization?
Oh, yes.
This is the first time you are doing something like this?
Yes, yes.
What is on the agenda for today and tomorrow?
Today we're meeting athletes and coaches as well, and it would carry the same format as we did in Tobago. Ideally, coming out from this, actually, we want to be able to promote Coaches College. Coaches College basically is what we want to do annually, to provide a platform for coaches to be involved in continuous professional development, exposed to different experts, so that you could be able to apply what you've learned practically. Because there's no sense in doing workshops. We all know you do workshops and there's nothing coming out of it. So the format of it is going to really be interactive and allow coaches to actually really apply their trade, apply what you learn theoretically, which is key and important.
When and where is this conference?
It's going to be in Tobago.
So today and tomorrow?
No. You're talking about the Coaches College?
Yes.
Or
The event that we're having today
today
and tomorrow.
It's going to be in Trinidad.
Okay, where exactly?
It's going to be at Cascadia, 9 o'clock.
Who is invited to this event?
All coaches, whether you have the certification or not, athletes who want to know about sport performance, how you characterize your sport, so that you're able to take out the main variables for your sport particularly and really suit your training program to tailor.
Based on the response that you've gotten, even from coaches, are they open to this sort of information?
That's a very good question. And as Barry would reiterate that, yes, you reach resistance and some people are set in their own ways, but that is not going to stop me from actually getting, because in a group of 20, you may get one.
Wow.
And that's good enough for me. At least I reach one person. You know, so the information is out there so that persons in their willingness, I think that's a very important point, willingness and being open to information. That is something that I would have learned being at the Olympic site, not to stray from what you're asking, but it's a very key point in learning, being humble, not thinking that you know everything, because for me, as a scientist, as a physiologist, you have to be able to take a step back and learn from the coach as well, because you may do all the research in the world, and if it's not applicable to the coach and the sport, then it's almost as if you're doing a pie in the sky. So being able to learn, to listen, is really key, and being open and willing is really key to your growth and development.
Now, Dr. Fudge, it was very interesting to note when you spoke about your experience working with Mo Farah. You said that from the get-go, you understood and you identified his skill. How were you able to do that? It is, I'm sure, because of the studies you would have conducted and the assessments you would have done. And how important is that, knowing the potential of your athlete before you actually undergo some sort of training?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think, so my experience is where I actually worked in Kenya and Ethiopia prior to working in the UK, and I'd actually worked with the previous double Olympic champion in Ethiopia, so I knew what it actually looked like in terms of an athlete and what they had to do. But you're absolutely right in terms of that there are some fixed things that we would look for in testing, particularly on a treadmill and then some track sessions that would indicate that somebody has the talent to get there.
Wow.
So there's definitely things that you can identify, particularly in endurance running, mixed sports, you know, like team sports like football and basketball. They're far more difficult because there's a different element to them. But running's quite an easy one to almost predict.
So that would tailor your strategy and the approach that you would take to train this individual, because training one person is totally different from training somebody else.
Absolutely. So if I take the men's 5,000 meters at the Olympic Games, we know what it takes to win, in the sense of, so you have to run the final time in this time, so sub 13 minutes. You have to run the last kilometer in 2:24. You have to run the last 400 meters in 53 seconds. And then you can equate that to what's the physiology required to do that? What's the speed required to do that in terms of what do you need to be able to do in the gym? What do you need to be able to eat? How heavy do you need to be? So you can actually work back from the performance and say,
it's
right,
critical.
this is basically what you need to perform at that level.
This is, wow, this is really
So you could imagine that we have the innate ability. So you know, this is me, for my personal opinion. We go to Togo, we go to Tobago, we go to South, right? Where you have, for me, the natural, talented, individual athletic ability. Imagine if we expose them to this sort of cutting edge sports science intervention. How many athletes we could churn out? How does our Olympic contingent look when we have the Olympics, Commonwealth, Carifta? We could dominate the regional games and focus really on Commonwealth as our pre-Olympic measure of performance, you know, to tell us whether we're gonna get some podium results, you know. So it depends on, I think, getting this involved again comes back to the willingness of the coaches to accept the fact that, you know, you have support in sports science and involving it in your training as basic as you can. You could start off so we're not pushing this down your throat, but so that you could be able to understand, involve it in your training so you could start profiling your athletes, map, it's as if you're mapping them across time to see their development, because that's critical as a coach. You don't want to be doing any maladaptation, because when that happens, you have an early plateau, or that athlete falls out because of injury, you know, so consider it, coaches.
Definitely. I'm not even a coach and I'm considering. Now tomorrow, so today this event takes place in Cascadia,
Yes,
from 9 o'clock. Is there any sort of registration information that we need to have?
Yes, there is registration online, but when you come to the venue, we'll also do registration as well.
Right. Is there a number that we can call as well?
You could call 372
372
6751.
6751. And also tomorrow, that event is in Chaguanas, I
It's in Chaguanas.
For citizens?
Yes, thanks to Phil Citizens for assisting. This one is basically with students, those who are doing CXC and CAPE physical education. Basically, we've taken the topic, trends and social issues in sport, where we will be discussing and exchanging viewpoints. It's coming before the exam, which would be awesome, that they would have real-life examples that they could use in their exam paper, right, to explain whatever has been asked, right? So we are delving into these different topics. And I really want to maintain contact with those group of students that would come today. We discuss things. I mean, I want to be able to agree and disagree with them. We talk about careers in sport, give them that critical analysis to start thinking as future professionals in sport.
Great. Well, we certainly look forward to that. I also understand you're affiliated with Soca Fit.
Yes.
Of course, Lisa Wickham there being the mastermind. What is your
Yes.
affiliation?
To give the science behind it, the moves, because it's different, and really let people understand the impact of Soca Fit on the human body. Now, we really want to be able to show in our culture is soca and carnival. So usually people will get themselves ready for carnival. So obviously use it as a means of getting yourself fit. And also there's a body morph where you actually could lose weight as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's giving the science behind it.
Such a pleasure chatting with
Thanks
you.
for having us.
You know, we definitely look forward to many more interviews such as this, so we could
Yes.
probably recap on the success
Yes.
that you all have gained.
Yes,
It's a
thank
pleasure
you.
having you. I'm glad you enjoyed Tobago.